So, the confidence formula. The main goal here is to get seventh graders prepared to play high school varsity basketball as soon as possible. Seventh grade is my favorite start point, although we often work with players starting in eighth, ninth, 10th grade even. By the time they're in 11th grade, they typically feel like they know what they're doing and they don't need any help. And I don't really like to fight against that and let them go on their way. So the younger, the better. And so we've really kind of framed this as the seventh grade to high school onboarding program, but I also describe it as the way we pack everything we can into 3 months and try to get a player on board and ready for varsity level play, both in mindset and conceptually, tactically, and skill wise. So there's a lot of pieces to it. I'm going to try to be 3,000 foot view or so you guys can get the overview without letting me get bogged down in the details too much. But I'm going to get into our philosophy, kind of walk through our discovery process, how we're really defining where a player's at when they get started. We're going to go over a map of the whole course and then talk about the logistics specifically for this summer. And then I'm going to give you an offer for both our basic package, which most of you are familiar with, and then our premium package that we're rolling out for the summer, just packing in really everything we can do over the course of the 3 months and even continuing into a year afterwards. So, philosophy, we talk about not just confidence, but concrete confidence. And I like to contrast that with what I think has developed its own really big niche in the world of confidence and self-esteem. And I think that's where a lot of conflation happens between the two. There's self-esteem training and mental health training and all of that out there in the world. Like there's dozens of online courses that you could go through around that, but all of it's kind of in what I call the fluffy realm, where it's like it's not connected to reality and where your feet hit the floor. And that's what I'm talking about with concrete confidence. And I actually developed a pyramid model really based after modeled after Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you got, basic food and shelter before you can start thinking about anything else in your life, higher level up to self-actualization as the top of the pyramid. And so what I landed at was aggressiveness is the top of the pyramid. Like that's what I hear every parent say they want. You want the player to go after the ball on rebounding more aggressively. You want them to attack the basket more aggressively. You want to play faster and more aggressive, and we want to shoot and take more shots, having that aggressive mindset. And they kind of know confidence is underneath that. Like they see the need for confidence or they see the lack of confidence in their player. And what I've really concluded is that beneath both of those is just plain certainty. And what most players need is certainty on two ends of kind of a broad spectrum, but the certainty of footwork and like technical skills of how to move their body to execute things, and then certainty of situational decisions. And like, based on this scenario with my teammate there, my defender coming at me from here, this is what I should do for sure with certainty. And if we get both of those ends working, like I think they kind of eventually meet in the middle where footwork and decisions are integral to both sides developing together. And if we get a lot of certainty, then confidence kind of is emergent property over time. We get confidence to show up. Like they are taking actions that we would say look confident. And then really it's just a matter of experience and more time to where that confidence leads to aggressiveness. Like they're sure of what to do, they're confident they can do it well and correctly and on time and in the right situation, and therefore they can go whole hog after it and be really aggressive. And I think that really has been proven true in my experience across a really broad spectrum of different skills in basketball. And so that's kind of what this course is for. So we call it the confidence formula because that's the feedback we've gotten from over 100 players that have gone through the course now. And, that's the outcome that they perceived as changing the most for them. And really what the work that we do is just on the certainty side to get them there by the end of the 3 months. So discovery process. The R factor question is something I learned from a business coach named Dan Sullivan, and I've started using it with players because I think it's a great way to like cut through a lot of stuff that they think they want to talk about or they think about their future and just kind of get it's almost like a shock to them to think about, what they want out of their future. So the question is, if we were having this conversation 3 years from now and you're looking back on today, what would have happened over 3 years to make you happy with your progress? And I think it's just a fantastic way to, again, cut through a lot of the surface level things they would say. I want to get better at ball handling, or I want to do this and that. And it's like, I want to play in the park with my friends might be one outcome. Or I want to be the next Caitlin Clark and go college and go pro might be one outcome. Or it might just be I want to make my varsity team someday. 3 years from now, if I'm a freshman, like that's really the timeline we're looking at. And so really using that to calibrate for us, like, okay, what kind of conversation are we having? Like, how serious is your future? How big is your future you're telling us you want? And then we can connect backwards to what do we need to change today to take a step toward that. The confidence index is another way of self-assessing. So we have our sock color chart, which I'll get into in a minute, kind of our way of separating age from skill, like give you a sock color designation so that you know where you are and what you need to do next, and not just you're a year older, so congratulations, you're now playing with ninth graders because you're a ninth grader instead of, well, actually you're ninth grade, but you play at a seventh grade level. So like you're going to be competing with the seventh graders until you get that leveled up, and vice versa. You might be a sixth grader that's playing at a ninth grade level. And that's where we're going to put you. Like it might be a big struggle, but we think your skill level's there and you need that challenge. So we're going to put you with the big boys and challenge you more because of where you're at. So all that is kind of under the umbrella I call calibrated competition. Like what we're always doing within our programs and our groups is sorting so that we get the best matchup and everybody's operating on like their knife edge of challenge so that they're not bored being too skilled in a lower skill group and they're not overwhelmed being too far behind a very high skill group. And the importance of this is really just telling them you are here. Is they know, you as their parent is are pretty biased about, how you think of them. Like you might think they're a great player and they're not too sure if you're actually accurate with that. And their coach might be on either end of that. They might be very positive and saying, you're a great player, or they might be really cutting them down and say, you're a terrible player and like you should run suicides right now and you should ride the end of the bench. And the player's like, I don't know where I fit into this. And so really our whole discovery process here is designed to just pinpoint as a objective third party. Like we don't have any skin in the game either way, like what team they're going to make or how much playing time they're going to have. It's just like us looking at you compared to 800 players we've evaluated over the last 5 years. Here's where we think you fit. And like you are here. And then it's here is the next step you need to actually move to up here and step that forward. So the SOX grading system is just modeled after the black belt in karate. Kind of get that, obviously. 7 different colors, and we've actually associated them with what we think of like skill grade equivalent. So we have K through second grade, third through fifth grade, middle school JV B team, so like maybe fifth, sixth, seventh grades, where a lot of our first time players when they first meet us are landing when they're doing the eval. Blue sock is like middle school varsity, right? They're playing on their highest level middle school team. Maybe they've played on an AAU team by that point. Purple sock is high school freshman ready. Like we think you could go into tryouts and probably make your freshman team. In my experience, that's a pretty low bar because the skill level nowadays in freshmen is not that high. And then JV ready is just another step up. Like, okay, we think you can make your freshman team and probably swing up to JV. Or you're a black sock, like you are ready to play on the varsity team. And we've never had anybody actually complete an evaluation and land in either a red or a black sock. It's usually they might think they're a black sock, like they might do their confidence index self-assessment and rate themselves really high, and we're usually, bring them back down to reality. Or on the other end, they might rate themselves really low. Like I feel like I suck this week because I missed all my shots and the game didn't go well. And so we're bringing them back up. Like actually, your skill level's here, but we need to work on decision making and applying that in game pressure and so forth. And so it's really been a year project now. We just crossed a year since we like launched this, rolled this out, and really started testing it. And it's been really good. Just give players a perspective on you are here, and this is what you need to move up to purple sock from the current blue sock that you are. So the map of the confidence formula. This gives you an overview of all 12 weeks. we've got three big phases, which I'll get into more detail of here in a second. The first phase is constructing solutions. It was like baseline layer. Phase two is creating certainty. We're like adding another coat of paint to that first layer and trying to start thinking about how it translates from footwork to a little bit of decision making and higher level complexity of skill. And then phase three, we call catalyzing confidence. We're taking all these different aspects that we've been tweaking over the first 8 weeks, and we're trying to combine them now and really connect the dots in the player's mind so that when they go back to their team, all this stuff is actually applicable and useful to improving their game performance. So the first phase is 4 weeks, and we've got 4 modules. So you can already see kind of what I describe as a scaffold of a skyscraper. We're building a 12-story building, and it's going up really fast, right? We're changing new concept, new skill set, new topic every week, and the player has a lot to absorb to keep up. So the focus funnel, we talk about how to improve their focus when they're practicing, how we improve their focus with our instruction method, which we call tag teach. And then we get into footwork and like just building from the sneakers up, where the sneakers meet the court is where we got to start. I always ask players, how do you build a pyramid? It's got to be one brick at a time and from the bottom up. We cannot build the top of your shot release if your footwork sucks for your shot, because it's not going to help you. We need to get your footwork operating and work our way up. So we start with very basic footwork and build from there. Three pillars of defense. Okay. And a concept I adopted from a mentor of mine that was NBA assistant coach for a long time. And it's the concept of containing a drive, contesting a shot, and rebounding a miss. And if we get players really good at those three things, they can be successful about 80% of the time on defense without having to worry about anything else. And then the unguardable ankle breaker, this was a addition for our version 2.0 here, because the first version, we didn't have enough focus on ball handling. And so that was feedback we got from a lot of the players was like, we touched on it a little bit as part of other stuff, but like I need help on like how to get better as a ball handler. And then phase two, we're getting into week 5 is the finisher. And we're just talking about everything to do with finishing around the basket. In my experience, most players have between 3 to 5 options that are game ready, is what I call it. Like they might be able to hit a floater with their right hand. They've got one version of a reverse layup, and they've got a right hand and a left hand regular layup. And so what we do is just expand that universe for them. We work on 5 different types of finishes from 5 different angles with each hand, and we get to 50 different finishes that they're actually capable and comfortable with, and we start implementing those, integrating those as we roll forward through the rest of the course so that they get more and more chances to get into those particular finishes from a lot of different situational games. The deep range assassin is all about shooting, and our whole approach is trying to generate power before precision. So we're trying to really get them optimizing whatever strength they have, deliver it in the form of power in a lightning bolt into the ball so you can send it as far as you need to, and then we can start dialing in precision. And it's kind of opposite where most coaches work on precision first. Like they're doing form shots with one hand, 3 feet from the basket. Their touch is great, but when they back up, they gotta huck it up with a shoulder twist and whatever they got because they don't have enough power. Situational skill system is kind of our first foray. So this is week 7. Like we just crossed the threshold of halfway in the course. First foray into some decision making. So we're actually now looking at, all right, given a game situation of X, what are our options A, B, C that we should use to attack in what order? We actually call it the order of operations, how we think about what tactical skill to attack with first, assuming you got the ball in your hands, you're controlling the situation. How do you want to approach that? The inside job is another addition since the version 2.0 started, really just working on all the big man roles. So I like to take the Jokic approach and be a playmaker first. So we're working on, playing catching with the ball at our basket, hitting cutters as the guard position. We're working on how to cut off the post, how to feed the post, like a lot of skills that are missing from more modern basketball because post play is just not that common. I think Jokic is bringing it back in some ways. And we're also working on, how to be a better rebounder and how to be more effective just around the basket. Even if you're not very skilled, you're not going to post up somebody and out footwork them and score in the post. You might be able to just move out of the way of your team that's driving and cutting and make yourself available to get put back rebounds and maybe just collect rebounds and kick them back out to shooters. Like whatever your skill level is, we can make that job a lot more effective versus kind of being in the post but never touching the ball and being frustrated by it and also being in the way of anybody else trying to attack. It's kind of where I see most big guys are put by their coaches and they feel kind of useless, and in effect they are. Phase three is catalyzing confidence. So again, we're adding another layer, kind of each skill set that we've developed. So instead of just shooting mechanics, where we worked on in our deep range assassin, we're now working on creating shots. So we have three categories, and the lowest on the category list is off the dribble, which is where most people, most players especially, think of first is like, if I'm going to create a shot, I got to do it with my handle. And we go after, how to create a shot before you catch the ball. So using off ball movement, driving kick concepts, cutting, screening away from the ball, and using screens away from the ball. Then we work on after the catch. So using one dribble or two after you caught a pass and could not shoot a 3-pointer, what can you do to create space, create a shot for yourself in one or two dribbles? And then the third one is creating off the dribble, using change of speed, change of direction, deception moves, trying to actually outmaneuver a tough defender and create a shot off the dribble. And then number 10 here is what we just finished for the spring session, which has been really fun. It's called the scorer's formula, and it's really just delivering the concept of how to calculate basketball efficiency. So what I like to use is called a points per shot value. It's very similar to the effective field goal percentage stat that's used in the NBA. My way is a little simpler, gives it a little bit clearer numbers, but basically we're trying to average 1 point per shot. And how do we do that? And how does that affect our shot selection decisions? And what we end up giving them is a 7 shot checklist in order of priority. And what I tell them is scratch off the bottom one, which is mid-range contested shots. Don't take any of those. Figure out a different way to score, and suddenly your efficiency goes up. And basically, our conclusion is we need to get layups and free throws and uncontested threes as our top three priorities. Mid-range, even uncontested, should be fourth, and then it just drops from there. So, like, if we stay at the top of the list, we're doing pretty good. We're efficient. We might be leading the NBA like the Celtics right now in scoring efficiency. If we take a lot of mid-range contested, Tatum fadeaway jumpers over two defenders, like game 4 of the series we just finished, then we're probably having a hard time scoring and hard time winning games. And then the advantage multiplier is what we're about to hit with the spring group right now. And this is really fun because we're talking about really the combination of all the different tactical moves. So like we focus on three main tactics as a team, which is drive and kick, pass and cut, and dribble handoffs. And so the advantage multiplier is where we start to look at how can we combine those three and use our playmaker post as an option and use our speed of decision making, and like how can we create an advantage, and instead of I create one and then I kill it when I pass to my teammate, so he's got to create a new one and then he kills it. Instead of that, we're trying to create one and multiply it. So it's player times player instead of player plus player. And can really see a lot of mental lights go on for players as they start to adopt that mindset and figure out how can you take an advantage, multiply that advantage until the defense is so far behind. It's like we could take any shot we want. Like I could take this wide open layup, or I could kick to my best shooter and let him hit a three if we want to. And that's where, basketball really becomes fun. And then the final week is the decision maker, which I actually wrote a manifesto recently to kind of describe this as like this is like the ideal outcome that I want every player to reach, which is, really taken from like a business of environment, which you guys are familiar with, is like if you're going into a business to pitch a project or you're an outside vendor, trying to make a sale, you want to find the decision maker, right? That is the person that you want to get to that's, is capable of deciding on this, we're moving forward or it's not happening and I'm moving on. And I think that's like the ultimate level of confidence that I could deliver to a player is to perceive themselves as the decision maker. Maybe not for their whole team, but for themselves, in their life, in their game of basketball, in their training approach, and going toward that 3-year ideal future they've told us about. I want them to think of themselves as I am the decision maker and I can go take this any way I want and make decisions and make stuff happen. So that's the big picture overview. I just developed this acronym, which made me really happy. The PERK system. Really, I've been trying to describe like what are the kind of the four big things that we try to make happen every week in order to really make it stick and make each week of the 12 weeks stackable on itself. So we're not forgetting the first thing by the time we reach the fourth thing, not to mention the 12th one. And so what we've designed over time with a lot of feedback is sending them a video at the start of the week, which primes their brain. So before we hit the court, they are hearing about from me what we're going to do this week, why we're going to do it that way, what's it called, where you're going to use it, how you're going to use it, and what it looks like in a demonstration video. And just has a phenomenal impact both on the player being ready and understanding what we're about, and for me, it's a lot less talk and more action. Like we have an hour on the court. I don't want to spend any second of that more than I have to talking about theoretical stuff. Like I want to be, here's the game, play the game and get them action as much as possible. And so we call the second one here, the E is espresso. I've called it for a long time. I adopted this from another business guy I listened to on a podcast, but the espresso versus gallon of coffee. Like we are injecting a shot of caffeine into the brain of this player in an hour's time to the point where they are getting so much more out of the very few things we're working on in that very short time. It's way better than what is generally done in practice, which is a lot of stuff, all packed into a long time of practice over 2 hours or more, and they come away, maybe they got a good sweat out of it, but they don't remember much, and not much of it was applicable to a game. So I was like, yeah, I think I got better at basketball from that practice. I don't know. Or what we ask at the end, which I'll get to in a second, is questions. We ask, what was the most useful thing tonight? And they got to tell us something specific. So it's not just, everything was helpful or nothing was helpful, which is where kind of players start. And I gotta drill down on them and like, no, more specific. Like, yes, ball handling, but what about ball handling was useful that you're going to use, even if you never see us again, you can take that with you and go put it to use. And the third one I skipped over here is review of video. So we capture all of our workouts on the home court app, which is a stats and video platform using an AI camera system. It's just great because we record it, but we can tag your player in it. So it shows up on their phone and says, you took 150 shots tonight, you made 27 of them, and they're going to go look at, okay, yeah, that was a bad shot. This was, I can see myself do that. And like, okay, I can watch myself, like how we really recommend they use that is as a practice database. So go watch yourself, like watch the first rep you did on this new skill, and then watch the 10th rep you did. And then when you're going to practice in the driveway, go watch that 10th rep again that you did really well and emulate it, because now you're getting the visual and the kinesthetic learning happening at the same time. Like I remember what it felt like to do that. I'm watching my own body on camera and I'm able to replicate that even when I'm weeks later, on a different court in my driveway, and works really well. So then the question, in addition to after each workout, asking my favorite question of the useful thing, we also have a quiz questionnaire at the end of each week where it's kind of a Google form, 3 to 5 questions. Again, just get them one more layer in a different setting. Can you remember what we did, why we did it that way, what it was called, so that it sticks a little bit better. And next week we're able to layer onto that without you losing track of past knowledge, trying to avoid the push it in one ear and out the other as we're piling stuff on really quickly. So logistics for this summer, we're going to be working on Tuesday and Thursday nights for all our different groups, starting June 18th. So it's going right from the end of school to back to school on September 5th, Tuesdays and Thursdays every week for 12 weeks. And so the times we have middle school boys now from 6 to 7 p.m. We have high school girls from 7 to 8, and then we're going to be doing high school boys from 8 to 9 p.m. And this was after getting some feedback that, it's summertime. I don't have school in the morning, so I'd be okay staying up a little later. And we want middle of the week so that we could go to the lake on the weekend and not conflict. And so, like, this is where I've kind of dialed it in over time of talking to some people about where this should work for most people. So now let me get to the offer, kind of our different packages. So most of you will be familiar with our basic package. This is what's on our website, what's commonly known, talked about. It's $1,500 for the whole deal here. It's 12 weeks of the curriculum with our 4 touch points we just went over, the perk system. It's 24 hours on the court, 1 hour each night, 2 nights a week, over 12 weeks. And it's kind of cool that it ends up being the same as one whole day. I kind of like that. It's 24 hours. And we're going to be doing up to 8 players. We've done 6 for the spring, and we've got several weeks where, 1 player or 2 are missing, and we have only 4 or 5 instead of 6 to play 3-on-3 and work on more of our tactical situations. So I'm bumping that up to 8, and we're going to try to fill all 3 groups with 8 players to really make that fly. And then it also includes access to your player's personal practice database. So that was what I was mentioning with the video on home court. And they have a free version because we're doing all the recording in our gym, at least. You can have the free platform and we share the film to you. So you can benefit from all of that without having to have their paid version of the app. And it still allows you to record some of your own if you're doing it in the driveway. There's a free limit of like 750 shots a month, somewhere in there. So if you're doing a little bit of work at home and recording it, you can still have the free version and we take care of the rest. And then what we've added recently is what I'm calling the "what did he do" guarantee, which really just comes from a lot of volume of feedback. So nearly every player that we talk to will come back at some point and say some parent or other teammate player or some other coach from a different school commented on how much better they were doing and really asked, what is he doing right now? What did he do since I saw him last year that changed? And, this is really a point of pride for me now, is that we are performing really good work that produces such a transformation so quickly that it's like jaw dropping. People are like, this kid couldn't tell his left foot from his right. He missed his 7th grade tryouts and didn't make the team. And now he's like dominating in AAU this spring. And, that's something we want to really continue with. And so the guarantee portion of this is that if they don't get some comment from someone on that front asking what they are doing within the 3 months of the program, we'll give them a year of one-on-one training for free. Put some teeth in it for us. And the value of that is like $5,200. We did a week every week of the year for 52 weeks. It's roughly $100 that we charge for a half-hour one-on-one session. And so I'm backing up my $1,500 program with a $5,000 guarantee. So far, we had no problems anybody ever taking us up on that because everyone has had the transformation we wish. And part of our going back to our discovery process, like why we have so many filters on the front end of sorting and talking to people and figuring out where they're at and where they want to go, is that we want to make sure we can deliver on this for every single player that goes through the program. So option 2 is the premium package. So this is really rolling everything into what I would want a player to do to just maximize what we can offer. So it includes the basic package, same as above. It includes 12 hours of individual training. So in addition to their Tuesday and Thursday night with a group, they would have another hour with just me to troubleshoot if they're in a live, in the season, they're competing right now, they have games, they have problems they're running into games, troubleshooting what they're actually doing, what their offense specifically is, and, dialing that in with some individual attention. It can be a lot of fun and very powerful. 3 months of injury prevention. So if you guys are familiar with Coach Kelly that works with us, he specializes in this, and it's our version of strength and conditioning. But instead of really trying to lift heavy weights and do a lot of high force things, we're just trying to get functional movement to work a little better so that you don't roll your ankle and you don't miss 6 weeks of your season, because that's the biggest inhibitor to basketball development, is being sidelined and you can't walk, much less run and jump and play basketball. And then 3 months of our keys to the gym membership, which is new just this month. We just launched. Basically, we're setting up a new insurance policy and a new door code system so that you will actually have a digital key to the gym and you can schedule time anytime 24/7 that we are not using the gym for training. And you can come in and shoot around. You can use the Dr. Dish. Basically, you can own the place for an hour at a time. And this level of membership is like our middle tier would be 3 credits per week. So 12 in a month, 12 additional hours per month that you could be getting in the gym and doing extra training. And then the last one here is 15 months of the confidence warranty. And so this is actually a brainchild coming out of last year is that our study of our first 100 players that did this 12-week formula program, we studied like who had the most success and why. And what we found was players that came to us at least once per quarter after they finished the 12 weeks ended up having a lot higher success as they went into high school. And the players that said, see you later after 12 weeks and never saw us again, some of them dropped out and didn't play anymore. Some of them, made it to JV and then couldn't make their varsity team. And so basically, I concluded like we need an insurance policy, like we need a warranty if we're gonna invest the time for us and you as a parent are gonna invest the time and the resources to getting this result we're trying to get over 3 months time, then we want to ensure that's not just maintaining, but continuing and progressing and compounding on itself, going forward in time. And so what I designed, what I really tested through the high school season with several players was doing a weekly game film analysis. So I'm taking clips from parents' phone or whatever camera we can get film on, and you send it to me, and I talk through it and break it down and diagram on my iPad and send it back to your player and tell them, this is what I see you could improve based on how you're operating in real games. And I call it seeing yourself through a coach's eyes. Like the best way I've found to phrase that is like what a player gets is like a download from my brain to theirs about their own game and how they're operating. Can be really powerful. And then also includes 3 times weekly text accountability. So something parents have brought up to us is like, I can't keep track of when he did his homework or not, for the course. And, I don't know what he's really working on in the driveway and all this stuff. And so what we do is just, again, use questions to try to get them to be thinking of basketball thoughts, be recalling stuff we have worked on in the past. And it's often, very conversational about, hey, what were you thinking about going into practice yesterday? How did last night's game go? Like, what was the useful thing that we need to work on, next workout, next time we see you? And then it also includes a monthly individual workout. So the real intention for this is to be a lower obligation of logistics. Trying to get to the court 2 days a week, for 3 months can be a lot. This is down to one day, 1 hour per month is all we need to get to on the court. And we're going to provide everything else off the court support with the game feedback and the texting accountability, and really just try to keep them on track so that they're not making a big jump for 3 months and then they're dropping back to where they were, or even sliding back farther because they're not practicing or not maintaining, what they've built. And so all this stacks up, if I've done my math correctly, all this stacks up to a 5-digit number, which is something I don't achieve very often unless I'm talking several years of training. 10,430 would be the value if we did all these, individually stacked up. And they are available individually. The confidence warranty we will offer you again at the end of the 12 weeks as just a $250 a month maintenance program. So it's a monthly membership model. You can keep that going. The special offer we're making here as you start the course is to do 15 months for 3,000. Essentially, we're discounting 750. So basically the 3 months while they're doing the 12-week course, they get for free, and they have a whole nother year after that getting that game feedback and the texting and the monthly workouts. And so what we've actually built is a payment plan for this. So instead of 10,430, we are going to do 12 monthly payments of 690, which is actually about 2,200 discounted. So it comes out to like 8,232, I believe, if we broke this down. And so 12 monthly payments of 690 is paying that 8,000 number because you're packaging all this together and rolling it into one big deal instead of paying all those individually, which would add up to this. So with that, I will take questions if you've got any. We're gonna send this recording out to everyone that couldn't make it tonight and try to get 3 or 4 more players signed up. I've got about 5 in each group of the 3 that I talked about: middle school boys, high school girls, and high school boys.